controversy brewing in California. Get this, a polling company now admitting that a poll it released on the LA mayor's race was fake. It claimed LA Mayor Karen Bass was leading Democrat socialist Nithya Raman by a wide margin earlier this month. But not so fast, sunshine.
It's still real to me, damn it!
So in today's election coverage, I'd like to discuss fake polls and the obvious suppression campaign being conducted against Republican voters. And to be clear, I'm not trying to be particularly conspiratorial. I'm just saying that when you prove something is happening, it's not much of a conspiracy. Because if you've paid attention to polls throughout this election cycle, you would notice, first of all, how wildly off and untrustworthy they've been, but especially in a certain direction. For example, remember when Abdul Al-Sayed was supposed to win his Democrat primary by double digits? That didn't happen. Francesca Hong in Wisconsin was allegedly leading by 24 points because, guys, don't you know, DSA communism is so popular in the United States, she outright lost. And I've even noticed instances of this happening on the Republican side as well, especially with anti-Trump candidates having their political support vastly overestimated. For example, if you paid attention to some of the stuff that was put out there, James Fishback earlier this week was supposed to get around 30% of the vote in Florida. Nowhere close, off by 20 points. If you listen to prediction markets in many of the polls, Thomas Massie was supposed to win his primary earlier this year. You know what happened there. But folks, it actually gets worse. Because in one of the really major political scandals of the month that nobody's discussing, over in Los Angeles, the Democrat Karen Bass campaign just got busted for pushing an outright fake poll. And keep in mind, by fake poll, we don't mean a biased poll. We don't mean a rigged poll that was conducted in order to make it look like she was winning or something with bad methodology. No, we're talking about a poll that was never conducted to begin with. It actually did not exist. And this was put out there not just by the Bass campaign, but by Los Angeles media and the like to display something that never actually took place to begin with. And folks, if that's not the greatest indication of the current state of polling in this cycle, I don't know what is. And so it really does, first of all, beg the question, if we establish that fake polls are actually being pushed out there, how many of the other ones are fake that haven't been exposed yet? But even then, keep in mind, it's not just about completely fake polls. How many, for example, of these random polling institutes that popped up out of nowhere and claim to be totally independent, are there pollsters who are not independent and are conducting intentionally rigged polls? For example, I have personally noticed what appear to be several different instances of campaigns in this election cycle basically paying to have an internal poll conducted, but violating federal law by not publicly disclosing, hey, that's an internal poll. Because basically, for obvious conflict of interest reasons, your campaign is allowed to pay for a poll, but you have to tell the public, hey, my campaign paid for this poll. They're not doing that because apparently FEC guidelines just don't exist anymore. You know, it's about as useful as the NCAA trying to regulate college sports. But still, regardless, that's happening. This is, of course, ignoring just simple political biases of actually independent pollsters that aren't flagrantly violating federal law. So you put this all together and say, I don't think we're done with this. I don't think that now that primary season is over, this is going anywhere in the general election. Because, for example, that is exactly what we just witnessed take place this week, where now that the primaries are done, you suddenly have this surge of Democrats supposedly way going up and way overperforming expectations. And look, Abdul Al-Sayed, after starting to lose in the polls and that being backed up by the actual primary results that took place, we sort of explained that, oh, suddenly now he's blowing out Mike Rogers. Suddenly now Democrats are going to flip Florida or something like that. And you really just ask, what the heck is going on here? Again, not here to get particularly conspiratorial, but one can only imagine it's kind of part of a voter suppression campaign. Intentionally or not. Is that not the case? Because it's been well established, first of all, that demoralization propaganda does actually work in American politics, right? If voters believe that a candidate has no shot of winning, they're much less likely to actually show up. Okay, so this stuff does have an impact. Why is it disproportionately seeming to affect Republicans right now and seeming to favor far left radical DSA candidates? I don't know, right? Is it an attempt to astroturf their support? But folks, this is why we always say, don't get complacent, just go vote. Well, now I have a new midterm message. Ignore the noise. Just go vote. Okay, don't listen to polls trying to say this or that because we've proven, keep in mind, I'm not here just saying the polls are fake because they disagree with my narrative. I'm saying the polls are fake because, first of all, they're proving to be fake. And secondly, in the actual elections that are taking place, they're wildly off. So it doesn't matter if Democrats are supposedly winning by 20 plus points. Just go out and vote because clearly there does seem to be some type of demoralization up here going on to discourage Republicans from voting. And coincidentally, on the very week where Karen Bass gets busted for pushing fake polls, suddenly we get this surge of new polls that nobody's ever heard of being added to the aggregates and stuff like that, showing, hey, look, here comes the blue wave on behalf of Democrats. You know, they're going way up. It's very shady. Let's talk about it, though. First, though, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, take a listen here from Bill Malugin. We are not making this up. The company behind a recent poll that showed Karen Bass with a 12-point lead over Nithya Raman for LA mayor and showed Karen Bass collecting most of Spencer Pratt's prior support has folks admitted that their poll was fake, and they're claiming it was intended as a, quote, social experiment to see how a poll could spread in the media ecosystem without verification. So this is now what this group called Median Strategies is claiming. Oh, we just tried to see if people would fall for it. Now, I have to say at the same time, that does seem to be a very useful alibi, right? And we'll explain that in a second. I'm not sure I entirely believe it. Now, I don't know. Maybe they really did do the social experiment, but either way, you know, something is not right about this. Anyways, the company Median Strategies also conducted a recent poll in Wisconsin that had socialist gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong. Oh, anyone remember her? Anyone remember the massive lead she was supposedly enjoying? Well, would it surprise anyone to find out this same company also conducted a poll in Wisconsin, and they had Francesca Hong up 20 points. Hong, of course, as we all know, lost her primary. So yes, we've now established at least one of the polls that claimed that crazy cuckoo communist was going to win by a lot was literally not real. What questions does it cast? What doubts does it cast on, say, the other polls? Even if those polls were not as fake, they were truly conducted. Were they conducted with an agenda, right? How did pollsters miss this badly? Well, there are serious questions. It was all bogus. Pretty insane detail when you say that out loud. But anyway, so here is the full story. A poll claiming LA Mayor Karen Bass was leading was bogus, the company behind the poll acknowledged on Monday. The fake poll by Median Strategies showed Bass leading Raman by nearly 12 percentage points ahead of the November 3rd runoff, and said the results were based on a survey of 560 Los Angeles voters between July 30th and August 5th. It said it had a 4.1% margin of error, and again, that was just never true. That never took place. They didn't sample a single one. These numbers are all completely fake. They're all completely made up, and it was pushed not just by the Bass campaign, but by LA media to begin with. So that really raises a lot of questions because likewise, if you're a, major mainstream media outlet and you're, presenting this as reality, did you even check to figure out who the heck this pollster is? Who knows? But anyways, but Monday, in response to repeated inquiry from the Times, the company said the purported poll was nothing of the kind. So quite interestingly, while claiming it's just a social experiment, this same company would not really respond to the media until finally this, and then take a listen to what they actually said. So, quote, Median Strategies, supposedly this polling institute that's established and credible and stuff, it sounds like one, right? Median Strategies. Oh, that sounds like a political data firm, doesn't it, right? Median Strategies was created as a short-term social experiment to examine how purported polling information could enter and spread through the political information ecosystem without independent verification, the company said in an email to the Times. So that's what they're claiming. It was like a deliberate deepfake. But then they went on to state, quote, we are not seeking publicity or attribution for the individuals involved in our declining interviews. Which again really makes me suspicious because if the whole thing was sort of this publicity stunt or the social experiment, wouldn't you want to eventually do this thing where you come out and expose that and say that, but instead they're sort of hiding? So again, I don't know the motive here. The whole point is still what? The poll is completely fake, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility that maybe this is a situation more of people getting busted and making up an excuse for that rather than, this was the intent the whole time. But I don't know the intent. The point is what? It still doesn't matter. The Democrats and the mainstream media push this poll that was completely fake. The phony poll also claimed that 16% of its respondents had voted for Pratt, and that of these voters, around 85% were planning to vote for Bass in the general, while 7% would support Raman. So why do I bring this up, ladies and gentlemen? Well, because keeping in mind, on the same exact week where we busted Democrats for pushing out fake polls, we see another peculiar situation suddenly happening over in Michigan. Because again, when you look to the primary results for Abdul Al-Sayed, and the fact that not only did he underperform massively, but even coalitionally, right? Not only did he just win by 1 point, struggled everywhere outside of college towns. He lost with working class voters. He lost with black voters. Just understanding the math, he has a long uphill climb to do in Michigan as a Democrat. He is not in a good position for obvious reasons. This is well established. Now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Yes, obviously he still can go win if we don't show up to vote, but we've just established he's a weak candidate. This is well known. All of a sudden, though, this week, after initially Mike Rogers was leading, after, again, the actual election results backed up the idea Mike Rogers should be leading, we suddenly got this flurry of new polls out of nowhere, oftentimes from institutes nobody's ever heard of. See what I'm pointing out here? See the pattern? Where Abdul Al-Sayed is winning. For this one, for example, suddenly has Abdul Al-Sayed beating Mike Rogers by 6 points. Oh yeah, suddenly now he's winning by 6. He beat the other Democrat by 1 in a very divisive primary, but now he's winning by 6 points totally, right? And of course, it turns out that this is coming from a Democrat pollster. And yes, after a swath of polls had Mike Rogers winning. It's not over till it's over, and this is conducted apparently by some institute called GBAO. No one's ever heard of that. No one knows what it is, right? But of course, why would you do something like this? Keep this in mind. Well, first of all, if the early polls are showing Mike Rogers winning, if you come out and try to say, oh no, Al-Sayed is winning, even if it's not real or questionable circumstances, whatever. I'm not even, by the way, saying this poll is completely fake. I don't know. I'm just saying what could be the motive behind publishing something like this. Well, for example, if you're worried that, say, maybe because they believe they're going to lose, Democrat voters might stay home or they're not enthused, hey, this shows, hey, we have a shot, guys. But here's what's more important, right? What they're probably hoping as well is this stuff messes with the averages, right? Because if it gets thrown into the polling aggregate, then, everything gets thrown way off. And so suddenly you have this confusing picture. No one knows what's going on. Maybe Republican voters think they're actually losing when they're not. And this basically poisons the well of having trustworthy data, while simultaneously, right? If you astroturf the support that this Democrat's enjoying that they're really not, obviously we can understand how that creates demoralization on the Republican side, and that obviously helps Democrats. But folks, it doesn't stop there, because this has been going on all across the country in the past several days. It's almost came out all at once, which makes it even more suspicious. Because following last night's, or I should say 2 nights ago, primary in Florida, we actually established, hey, here's why it seems pretty clear. Democrats have no shot at this pipe dream of flipping Florida blue, because look at the raw vote turnout numbers, right? You can just see nowadays Republican voters way outnumber Democrats in the state of Florida. It's not close. Assuming or barring some type of October surprise or no Republican voters showing up, Byron Donalds should be just fine and be able to secure the governorship over in Florida. Well, take a look at this. Apparently not. Apparently, they expect us to believe actually the Democrats are leading in Florida by +1. Never mind the fact that they got destroyed in voter turnout earlier this week by about 500,000 votes. No, just trust me, they're leading. Because apparently, I don't know, Byron Donalds is going to win 0% of the Jay Collins vote, 0% of independents. The Democrats are just going to win 100% of that. I don't know. I don't even know what the theory here behind it is, right? But you can see. New polling from the Hart Research Institute shows David Jolly suddenly now leading 46-45 in the Florida governor's race. And again, I repeat, this kind of all came out at the same time. You see what I'm saying here, folks? You see what it's all about too, by the way, right? The voter suppression op. what this could be pushed for. Now, granted, maybe this one is actually going to, in the end, be self-serving to us, because it would actually be productive for Republicans if Democrats believed they had a shot at Florida and started wasting, unnecessary resources there. But you can see, right? Not only was this poll conducted, the Democratic Governors Association starts publicly pushing it out there to audiences on both sides for whatever reason. You can sit there and guess. But, as I pointed out here, right? Quote, Francesca Hong will win by 24 points. Same logic. Abdul Al-Sayed will win by double digits. Karen Bass outright got busted for pushing a fake poll. Do you notice a pattern here? I'm at the point where I'm genuinely saying it is an op. And by the way, the same thing does honestly go for prediction markets right now, because I was using them for a little bit as a strong indicator because, for example, back in 2024, it was basically the only metric that ignored the Kamala bump that was completely fake that took place in August and, remained the whole time. Yes, Trump is the favorite to win the election, but we've also seen now, as of this cycle, they're just completely off. They're being arguably probably being manipulated, if we're being real about that. You can just dump a bunch of money into it to manipulate the market and then make it look like, you're way up and winning when you're not. And by the way, they've just been getting a bunch of their predictions wrong. So you can't really trust that either. And the whole point is, again, what? Sort of a mass confusion at best. At worst, it is a deliberate voter suppression campaign against Republicans, but what our response simply has to be, and I'll say it again, you just have to go vote, okay? DTA. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust anything. What? No, but seriously, that's what you have to do, okay? So you see a poll that says Republicans are winning. Honestly, I'd even say on that token, just ignore it. It doesn't matter. We don't know what the heck is going on right now, okay? Maybe one day it'll come out, but it doesn't matter. But especially, you see a poll that has some crazy communist, crazy communist Abdul beating Johnny America by 30,000 points in, some rural Midwestern state. I don't know. Maybe just think to yourself, I don't think that's real, actually. I think the communists are doing this intentionally to lie to us and mislead us and maybe boost their own fundraising numbers when they know they're really in reality down. I'm just going to go vote. That's all you can do. Again, ignore all noise. Just go vote, because this stuff is completely fake. It is. And we've proven that it's fake. So there you go. Anyways, that's it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.